They open it up, roll the tree in there, close the door. We'll see you next year. Just like that.
That's it, man.
Ah, Lee. That's the American dream, fellas.
There you go, right?
That's what we're up against here.
You get that thing remote control and motorized.
So welcome back, everyone, to the podcast. I am John, and my room here is nice and bright and merry. Tom, you're looking like Hallmark romantic over there. What's going on?
Oh boy!
Is this the start of a movie?
Slap in the face. Yeah. No, it's Christmas time. We're full in.
All right. Tom's got the tree up. That's good, Tom. How long did it take you to get everything prepared?
Well, how long did it take me? About 2 minutes, because my part was putting on the light bulbs, and our tree is one of those that has the lights on. But I added one more ring, so it wasn't long.
Okay.
Now, don't ask don't ask our friend who put up the tree or my wife who put on the ornaments how long it took them, because it took them considerably more time.
Ooh.
But Tom's always there to bring up the rear and to finish it all off. Good time. Good time. Looks good. It looks good, Tom. And of course, Brad's here. Brad has no Christmas tree.
I do too. It's just not in this room.
Just not in that room. Okay.
It's still in the box.
All right. Well, how are you both, gentlemen?
So, John, is your tree up yet?
It is up, actually. It would have been up probably 6 weeks ago if it had been up to my son. My son loves Christmas.
Yep.
He would probably keep decorations up all year round. But we didn't get it up 6 weeks ago. We got it up week before last week, maybe. I don't know.
Yeah, but I was going to say at our home, there's at least one person who would prefer either A, never to put it up, or B, to put it up the day before and take it down the day after.
Now, this is the difference between like when I'm in charge and when I've let him have some of it. Like we're still not done. Like if I've been in charge, like I usually am, all right, we got the tree up and the inside's decorated. Tomorrow we'll put the lights up and we'll be done. We're talking 2 weeks, 3 weeks, and we still haven't gone outside. We still haven't finished everything inside. It's driving me nuts. So we'll probably do that today or tomorrow. So anyway.
My mother and father, when they were still in San Antonio, they had their own Christmas tree, and they just put a garbage bag over it, stick it in the closet, pull it out, and pull the garbage bag off, and there it is. We're done. Like, really? Those people made us crawl up on the roof and hang lights and everything.
Actually, you say that. There was a family we knew had a beautiful home, huge home, and their tree was probably 10 foot tall.
Yeah.
But they had a closet right next to where it would go. They opened it up, rolled the tree in there, close the door. We'll see you next year. Just like that.
That's it, man.
Ah, Lee. That's the American dream, fellas.
There you go, right?
That's what we're up against here.
You get that thing remote control and motorized.
Put it on a Roomba.
There you go, man.
Put it on a Roomba and just let it go around the room.
Bumping into things all over the house.
We've got a good start to the Christmas season here on our podcast, but I'm going. So this really, though, makes me kind of trepidous as to where we're going to go today, John. So
I don't know. Last week we were talking about Advent and like hold off on Christmas, and then next week here comes Tom with his Christmas tree.
Yeah.
Make up your mind, Tom. What do you want to do with this podcast? Because we follow your direction, Tom. I don't know if you know that or not. Did we tell you that?
Yeah. Actually, I'm the one who whips, cracks the whip every now and then, but which is out of character for me because I'm.
So, Brad, that means we give Tom feelings of power he doesn't usually exert.
You empower me. Yeah. Right.
All
right.
Brad, what'd you preach on yesterday?
Advent. Preached on Advent.
Oh, you used the episode as the notes and everything. You just repeated everything we said.
No, I hit play. No, we talked about Advent. We talked about being awake and what does it mean to be awake in a world that is shiny, and how do you stay awake to what's truly coming about for us this coming season? Are we really anticipating Christmas? Are we anticipating the birth of Christ? Are we anticipating the second coming of Christ? And where, what are you awake to right now? Because we can chase shiny all day long. And at the end, it's nothing but tinsel. And, what is the real light of the world? That kind of stuff.
Do we use tinsel anymore? I don't see it.
At my age.
We've got a little bit. We've got a little bit here.
Do they sell it? I don't ever see it anymore.
Oh yeah. As far as I know.
Yeah.
You mean
like the little shiny? Yeah.
Right.
Our tree when I was a kid used to be full of that stuff, and now my wife doesn't like it, so we wouldn't have it even if I could find it. But I don't know that I could find it. Going with what you said, Brad, I saw this morning. I think I shared it from where's it at? Missy Buchanan, you know her. She shared a picture. Let us not confuse sentiment with significance, for if we do, we will miss Christmas. Ooh, spoken. So anyway, Tom, what'd you preach on yesterday, Tom?
I preached on nothing, but I listened to a good message yesterday. So,
Tom, your life is the sermon. Tom.
Yo estoy listo para, what's it? I forget the word. Natal. What's the word for? Navidad.
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 You know the song.
Yeah, I was gonna say, how could I forget? Even when I didn't know any Spanish, I knew that.
Natal. No, that doesn't.
This doesn't work.
It doesn't work, man.
Bon Natal. I think. What is that? Good night, or is that Good Christmas? Merry Christmas. But that's, I think, Italian.
All right.
So I've just butchered about 5 languages there.
That takes skill. That's a good job.
Yeah, but I had my Spanish teacher. We were having a conversation, and I said something that I thought was Spanish, and she kind of looked at me. She goes, "Oh, that's another Tom-ism."
Yeah.
Another made-up word. I've done that in Russia. I've done it in Spanish.
I do it in English all the time. So speaking of sentiment, I got 2 things I learned this morning. One is this is I don't know how long we'll talk about this, but Pong turned 50 this year. Did you know that?
My father used to make those machines.
Is that right?
Yeah,
Who turned 50?
Pong.
Oh, Pong. Oh my goodness. Yeah. Duke. Bleep. Bleep. Yeah, I was gonna say, and even back then I couldn't do video games.
Yes. Yeah.
So you weren't a Pong extraordinaire?
I was, I'd play Pong and lose just about every single time. So
I was reading a great little story about how it got started and how the developer was tricked into making it, and then just how it just blew up almost instantaneously. And it's been what it is for all these years now.
In Pizza Huts across the land.
Yeah, the little kind where you sit down at the table. Oh, yeah. So anyway, there's your nostalgia. Go play Pong. You can still find it. Actually, for my birthday, one of my daughters bought me a Switch game, and it's all the old Atari games, and Pong is on there. So we actually played Pong last week or week before when it was my birthday, and I turned 45.
Yeah.
Oh, happy birthday. Did not know your birthday.
So you're not as old as Pong?
I'm not as old as Pong. Not even. Pong is that old guy I can make fun of.
Yeah. Right.
As we talk about that, I was thinking, it's like there's AP and BP before Pong and after Pong. You're an AP.
I'm an AP. Yes, I'm an AP.
It's a whole new generation. There we go.
Yeah. Call me John AP. That's right. I'm the after Pong. Yeah. All right. So every year, Merriam-Webster puts out a word of the year, and Tom reminded me we actually did some of this probably last year. We had a conversation about the word of the year. I find it interesting. I like words, but the reason why this is interesting is because they don't just pick random words. Oh, this is the word of the year because we pull it out of a hat. They use information throughout the year based on user activity, right, with their website and other resources. And this is how they come up with the word of the year. Now, I'm going to take a few guesses. Word of the year. Think about the year we've had in review, right? when I was a kid, I used to love those shows, like towards the end of the year where they would review the whole year. I would love that. So think about everything that's happened. As a kid, yes, I love those shows. A lot of it was celebrity stuff or historic kind of stuff. I loved watching it. So think about the year we've gone through, fellas. Take a guess what this year's word of the year is. 2022.
As an Astros fan, I go, champions.
We'll take it. Maybe in Houston.
It was a great year. Yeah.
I'm going to take a wild guess because I cheated and looked it up.
What?
Yeah, I couldn't help it. Yep. I know what it is. And it's
so, Brad, tell us the 2022 Merriam-Webster word.
Oh, so it's for the year in review. So it's this past year. It's not the year we're going to. It's not the word we're living with in 2023. Okay.
No. Go ahead. Go ahead, Brad.
Oh,
gaslighting.
Just a second. Gaslighting?
Yes.
Really?
Yes. And I'm not gaslighting you about it, Tom.
Right.
It says in 2022, searches for gaslighting increased. Watch this. 1,740%, according to Merriam-Webster.
Mm-hmm.
So I find that interesting because, that's a significant number, right?
Yeah.
Almost 2,000% increase in this word. And so that means it's drawing interest. That means people don't quite know what it means. They're trying to get a better understanding of, like, maybe if they're being gaslight, or they're hearing the word more, probably, right?
Yes.
So how has that word fit into our experience in 2022?
So gaslighting, okay, explain to me what gaslighting is again, because I think I know, but I want to fully understand it. It came from at least there's a movie.
Yeah.
Have you seen the movie?
I have not seen it.
I've seen the movie. It's pretty interesting.
It's kind of wild. It's a precursor to like Twilight Zone stuff. In
a way, yeah.
But
black and white.
Anyway, Brad, you were saying.
Well, it comes from a play and a movie by the same name, and it's about this guy who's trying to help his wife, to convince his wife that she's going crazy, and he would mess with the gas lights in the house by turning them down dimmer every day or every night. And she kept saying, it's getting dimmer in here. And he says, no, it's not. It's just all in your imagination. And, the whole thing is about manipulation and trying to persuade someone to think something that is not true to be true and to be convinced by it. So it's really wild. And, we see that so much in our media.
Absolutely.
And that's how that word has become so popular.
So it's not just lying, right? You can lie and tell a lie. It's more ongoing. It's more involved.
It's manipulative.
Yes.
It's not just saying, no, I didn't take the cookie. It's you took the cookie and you forgot that you ate it. It's that manipulation of making you second guess yourself.
Right.
And that's a manipulating tool that is being used a lot. And it's scary sometimes.
And so it says here that there was no one single event that sparked interest in the term. Instead, there was sustained curiosity. It was a word looked up frequently every single day of the year.
Yeah.
Okay.
So this interested me because I think this little word gives us some insight into how people feel and maybe what we're worried about, or maybe what has our attention the most. And so I don't know what are we fearing if we're looking up the word gaslighting every day of the year, Tom?
And I wouldn't necessarily tie that directly in, but one of the things is that has been a recurring theme in our lifetime is the idea that this is an unsafe world. because we hear it over and over again. We hear about these terrible tragedies. It's funny. I recently, spent 99 cents for half a year of the Houston Chronicle, and I'm more aware of certain things. We went to Florida and back a week before Thanksgiving. And then right before Thanksgiving, I read that the most dangerous time to be on the highways is during the Thanksgiving holidays. Yeah, and not only that, is that the least safe state where the most fatalities happen is in Texas. So the next thing I'm going, whew, I'm glad we're not traveling during the Thanksgiving holidays, because we're safe at home. Now, we've made a lot of trips during the holidays, including Thanksgiving, and I've seen accidents. In fact, we saw an accident on the other side of the interstate when we were going out to Florida, and so there's this awareness. Things happen, but not as often as it feels like they happen.
Okay. So maybe this is more perception than reality.
Oh, absolutely. Because I remember reading an article how what would you say is one of the I've seen it several times in, let's say, sermon series. I know the pastor, the well-known pastor author in San Antonio,
Max Lucado.
Max Lucado. I've got a quote from him dealing with this. I've seen locally that maybe it was this summer, maybe it was more recently, maybe it's now, but the dealing with anxiety, the word anxiety, and that we're an anxious world. Well, why are we an anxious world? Is it because we're suddenly in a less safe environment? Is it less secure? No, it's because of perception. We are unsettled because of the perception that, I can step outside my door, and suddenly a random, some crazy guy goes on a rampage, and that happens. It happens, and it happens way too often. But for the most part, you and I walk through a very safe, especially here in the United States, a very safe world, feeling like it's dangerous.
So, Brad, Tom's idea about perception versus reality, how does that steer our understanding of our worry about being gaslit or having other people gaslight us?
I think it's a questioning. I mean, Tom hit the nail on the head. It is an anxiety about our perceived reality, not reality, but our perceived reality. And that anxiety is really about questioning, am I seeing what I think I'm seeing? Am I hearing what I think I'm hearing? And when you begin to question that, when you begin to think about, is that really what I'm perceiving? Is that really what's happening? Because this is what it feels like, and I have to trust my feelings because that's all I have right now, my feelings and my thoughts. And my thoughts are saying one thing, my feelings may be saying something else, but you begin to try to question your own perceptions. You begin to question your own realities, and what is truth, what is reality, what is real, and I think that's the hint of what gaslighting is really all about. Is, am I really hearing what I'm hearing? Am I understanding what I'm hearing? And does it line up with what I understand is truth? And when you begin to hear so many convincing arguments, convincing or not, I mean, whether it's true or not is another issue, but when they're convincing, you begin to doubt everything and question everything. And I don't think this is new. I think we've been doing this now for decades.
Oh, absolutely.
For at least 50, 60 years or more, we've been questioning everything.
Isn't that our origin story? Did God really say that?
Well,
right?
I mean, yeah, I mean, it goes all the way back to that. But I think really we began to do it societally and societally, is that a word? As well as systemically. We began to do it in mass, not just individually.
So our technology,
Well, it's
the way we're set
technology,
up.
but it's also perception of if more than one person is saying the same thing that I'm thinking, maybe I'm not wrong, or maybe if more than one person is saying what I'm hearing, maybe I am wrong, and I need to figure out which is it, am I wrong, or is the whole world just gone crazy?
See, and there's the tension for me because, like you said, I mean that gaslighting, it's dangerous, and I mean it is psychological, and it's messing with you. But the way you explained it, like I'm thinking also, but that's also good. Not the gaslighting part. Like I need to be able to question myself, right? I need to be able to say,
Absolutely.
am I just making assumptions? Am I just kind of just going with what I need my perceptions and thoughts challenged. Otherwise,
Right.
we go into another hole, and that's no bueno. Maybe as Tom
We
would say.
become stagnant, and we cease to grow. We cease to think. We cease to evolve. We cease to actually function properly.
Which,
if we're so stuck in our ways, it's a quagmire. It's
sure,
bad.
sure. Go ahead, Tom.
So one of the things I was thinking in the Gaslight, specifically from the movie Gaslight, is someone is speaking into my reality. Someone outside of me is speaking into my reality, and there's this need to bounce my thoughts, bounce my ideas, or my information off of someone, because we first of all, we are created to be in relationship with God and with one another. We've been created to be in a community. Whether even for those who don't need a big crowd, they do need someone. We all need someone, and anyway, and if that someone is someone we trust, but is, let's say, unreliable, but we see them as reliable, then we're in trouble. Then we are going to feel uneasy. So that kind of raises the question of how do I sift through all of this information and come to some semblance of what is true and real, and do it in a way that involves others, so that it's not just me alone. One of the things I keep hearing in either written or audio story form, or you hear, especially this time of the year, is you just need to be true to yourself, and you need to follow your what?
Your gut.
Usually they use the word heart. Just follow your heart. Be true to yourself.
I'm a little lower than that, so that's
heart. Yeah, and every time I hear that, I think of, okay, what does Scripture say about that? And it says the heart is deceitful above all things. So there's one message coming in that says follow your heart, and another message says, don't follow your heart, get something outside. So which one of those, now then, how do I process that? How do I discern between this and this? So now I throw that back to you guys.
Well, because also, follow your heart, follow your gut, follow your feelings. There's also, follow you however you feel. But then there's a thought that says, no, you can't trust your feelings. They're fleeting. But I think of the story of Walk to Emmaus, right? When Jesus disappears, and they and Tom, you did a great segue for me, because that's where I was taking this also. I wanted to anyway, is about the importance of how we are sharing in all this kind of wisdom seeking conversation, like together, right? If I'm just sitting in front of my computer by myself for hours at a time, reading all of this stuff, that, in my opinion, is written and presented in ways that are meant to confuse me I'm going to be in big trouble. And so we need people around us to help bring that out. So anyway, the story of the road to Emmaus, when Jesus is gone, they look at each other and they're like, were not our hearts like burning? Like, so we felt something, right?
Right.
And that was okay. There was nothing wrong with that. It was a sign that, man, something was happening in this moment that we need to pay attention to. But that was something that they discovered and reflected on together. And
the only thing I would note here is the heart followed the information. It didn't lead the information. In other words, the heart didn't take you there. Jesus took them there. And I think that because feelings are feelings. As they say, feelings are neither right nor wrong. It's just you feel that. So, but it shouldn't be the one who has the hand on the rudder, the tiller. It should be a part of who you are, but it is not the lead. So sorry.
No, that's good. That's good. So our community, by and large, and certainly as church leaders, a part of how we lead in the church is offering the community of faith as that community for people, right? And we do so in a cruciform way through the lens and the scope of who Jesus is and the cross and all that kind of stuff. And so as I was thinking about that, it got me wondering and thinking about how, a lot of people feel like the church gaslights them. They've been gaslit by preachers and other Christians, and people don't trust the church, right? I saw a video someone shared with a group I'm part of some church getting ready for some kind of Christmas presentation. And it's a large venue, big mega church. And there's, I don't know, at least 3, maybe 4 guys who are strapped in holding snare drums, and they're practicing some deal where they're just flying around the worship space, playing their drums. And so first thing I want to do is I want to read the comments, and I was not disappointed, right? And what it was for me is just another reflection of how, people see that kind of stuff. People outside the church see that kind of stuff and think, this is the kind of nonsense you want me to get behind. And so you will tell me whatever you think I want to hear in order for me to be a part of that kind of stuff. And so has the church gaslit people?
First of all, before you do that, going, that sounds really cool, though.
No, you know what I'm thinking? Don't drop those drumsticks, whatever you do.
Hey.
Anyway, that's all. Sorry.
Well, Tom, I mean, you show up at Kelsey, we might strap you down and give you a drum and see what happens, man.
Oh, yeah. It'll definitely be offbeat. Whatever it is, it'll be offbeat.
Swinging drum solo, I'm telling you.
Yesterday in church, I'm having to watch whoever's clapping, so I make sure I'm at least remotely close to the actual rhythm. So, but
2 and 4.
Come back to. Hey, well, so it's interesting because yesterday, this was actually before worship service. I make it a kind of a daily practice to spend time in the Gospels. And yesterday it was scene 461 in the Red Letter Bible. Jesus accused of being an agent of Beelzebul, which means, he did something amazing, and the religious leaders said, he's of the devil. He can only do this because the devil has given him power. And I'm still reflecting on what are the appropriate questions, to process when I hear someone say something or do something. Because in that particular passage, Jesus does something. I know he's going to respond to all of that, but his family shows up and thinks he's out of his mind. The crowd is amazed and asking the question, is this the Messiah? The religious leaders are saying, he is definitely not from God. He is from the devil. Those are three responses to the same person in the same setting. And then for me, it begged the question of, so then how do I process this? Whether we're talking about who Jesus is, or what the pastor said yesterday in church, or what the news person says on TV. I mean, it doesn't matter. There has to be some guiding principles in saying, this is where I want to find or ground my faith or confidence or lifestyle, and have this process of not just following the crowd, because so often we're way off, and this is, people can take it any way they want to, but Trump was this phenomena that just kind of came out of nowhere. I mean, he didn't come out of nowhere, but a lot of people have followed him, and it was a phenomena that involved the church, involved conservatism. I mean, you can go through all of the things, and I'm saying this is a good place to at least think through. And I could say kind of the same thing about Biden. That he kind of rose from the background into now he's our president. It's not a commentary on either one of them. It's just this recognition that we as a group of people follow others in a profound way, and believe that they are our salvation, our redemption. They're the ones who are going to help bring us out of whatever chaos and bring order to our justice or anything. So hopefully if I offended someone just simply by naming two names, that's the cost. But again, it comes down to, you have to not follow the crowd as much as you need to have a set of principles or ideas that you can make, especially important, significant life decisions on. And
Brad, do you have any of those set principles?
Well, I was just sitting here thinking as you said that, was it Joel or Amos? One of the two talked about a plumb line.
Mm-hmm.
Set a plumb line against the world, and the plumb line has to be correct. Something has to be your guide. Something has to be the absolute. This is the rule, the canon, if you will, CANON. Of what is the resource that we always go back to and say, this is our ground point. This is our focal point. Anything that we come across needs to be measured against that. And as you were talking about that, we talk politics and all that stuff too. I was remembering way back when Walter Cronkite stepped away from the desk, metaphorically, of being the news anchor that had respect, that had, everybody listened to him no matter what. And that's the way it was. That whole, he had the world's attention, and people respected it because it was objective, it was honest, it was factual, and it laid out the story before us until the one night when he stopped. And I'm not saying that he was no longer effectual or factual or any of that stuff, but he stepped away from the role of presenting the news and gave an opinion about Vietnam. And what he did in that moment wasn't gaslighting. So don't hear me say that. What he did in that moment was he presented something that I believe just about everybody in our country was thinking, but didn't have anybody else to compare it to, to say, this war is not going the way we all think it should go. And it's becoming very costly. And we begin to have a question, is this what we're supposed to be investing in as a nation? And when people began to ask that question out loud, and what Cronkite did is he gave us permission to begin to talk about it out loud, not just to protest it, in small pockets of dissension here and there, but as a whole nation. And it became a dialogue. It wasn't necessarily a very pleasant dialogue, and it wasn't necessarily a very friendly dialogue, but it was a dialogue nonetheless. People heard from someone who was respected and trusted the thoughts that they were thinking themselves, the feelings they were having themselves about what was going on around them. And suddenly now we can talk about it. Does that make sense?
So we need permission. Maybe that is the wrong word. We need space to be able to talk out loud together.
I think what we need to know, and the thing about gaslighting is that it's the exact opposite of that. It's that I'm going to tell you what you need to think. Right. And what reality is, and what Cronkite did was he gave us permission to think, not what to think, but permission to think. And that's a major difference. And I think one of the things the church has lost and is trying to gain back is that sense of, we have a gospel, we have a truth that is undeniable. Our whole world is based upon it. Our calendars are based upon it. Our seasons are based upon it. Everything we do is based upon this truth that God became a human being. And only in this one context, but in this context for every context. And in that truth, if it was Amos in the plumb line or Joel in the plumb line, my brain is not working on a Monday morning, sorry. But, you have to recognize that one plumb line, that one semblance of truth, that one thing that we can say is absolute. It's non-negotiable. We all agree this is an absolute. Everything needs to be measured against that. And that is how we're going to begin to once again reclaim some semblance of sanity, perhaps, some semblance of unity, maybe, of being able to say, where are we in truth? Is what's being presented to us? Does it smell right? Does it walk like a duck? Does it sound like a duck? Does it smell like a duck? Those kinds of things. But more than that, am I crazy? Or is this real? And if I know that I have this one foundation point, this rock upon which I can stand, Tom put it very, very well, then I know that I'm not going crazy and that I have something to hold on to when all the winds of change and misinformation and disinformation and all the other things that are going on around us will all, they won't blow me over. They won't tear me down. They won't make me feel like I'm losing my mind or my soul.
So I think, I don't know if I recall it a guiding principle, but I think for me, it's been a question of challenge. So yeah, when it comes to faith and even what we believe, everything, we have a foundation that we see everything else through. But when I get to how do I discern either what we're reading in the news or anything else, one of the questions I need to ask is, can it be challenged and it be okay? Can the person who's telling me this be challenged and it be okay? And if you get the sense that no, it can't even be challenged, it can't even be talked about, it can't even be questioned, right? That's a full stop for me, because to me that feels like we're already in that. No, you just need to listen to what I'm telling you, and just obviously I'm telling you everything you need to know. So yeah, and so even when Amos is giving the plumb line, I could still add, well, is the plumb line, have we updated the plumb line? Is it did we take care of it?
The plumb line, yeah,
right.
Yeah.
Have we maintained it and kept it okay? And so, and I think,
or we substituted it for something else.
Yeah.
Well, what's interesting is every generation that builds has some way to know that your walls are straight, that your foundation is level. I mean, that's true in Corpus Christi. That's true in Sun Prairie, Wisconsin. That's true in Moscow. I mean, it doesn't matter where you are. We have some way of measuring. Although there's a moment I say that, except in Russia, because
well,
But there is some way of measuring how this structure comes together so that it is well founded, and it may not be a stone on a string that hangs straight down.
Right.
Yeah, it may be a laser beam that's shot across from one spot to another, or it may be the level with the bubble. But it's somehow to test the validity of the foundation and the structure, and that's all we're saying. That's all we're saying here is for us is that foundation is the person of Jesus Christ. We measure our lives against who he is and what he does and what he has said and is still saying in our world today.
Yeah. Amen.
That becomes our rule. That becomes our canon.
That's right. That's right. And so then but kind of bring that all together. That's still something we do well. I think we do best. I think we do most faithful within our community, right?
Right.
Obviously, you have personal wisdom. Obviously, you have experience that you bring, and you have time where you reflect, by yourself. But all of that, it has to come together. And for us, the church needs to be having these conversations together, and we need to be able to challenge one another. And so I did make a comment yesterday in my sermon. We talked about the end of the world, and I made the comment that, Jesus seemed a little confused about it himself, because at one point he says, this generation will not pass away, right, before all this happens. And then he says right after that, but I don't know when, like, I don't even know. The angels don't know. So Jesus seems confused. And like, people hear that, like, what are you talking about, right? If we can't even like kind of just see that for what it is, then I don't know. We're listening to somebody just tell us what to believe, and I don't think that frees us for joyful obedience in Jesus Christ. So, all right, let's close it down. Brad, Tom, give me some last words about gaslighting and the church.
Use electric.
The battery operated ones, just solar.
Kind of building though on what you said, John, about community. It is important to be in a community that at least has a sense of common ground, and there's nothing like that. In the example, I had the privilege of going to the World Series Game 1, and the Astros lost that game. I think that was the one that went into the 10th inning, and they ended up losing it by 1 run. But here's the thing: even in a loss, I was among I was in a place where we had a common ground, a common love, and that was for the Astros. And I was there hearing the chants, and you don't pick them up on the television. You don't pick them up on the radio. You pick them up when you're there, surrounded by other people, and that's why this isn't simply a Zoom meeting. This isn't simply a telephone conversation or a YouTube. This is I need to be in community with other followers of Jesus Christ, so that I can experience not only the wisdom, but the feeling, the experience of being with people who love Jesus.
That's good.
And this is a great time to be there. Advent.
Amen.
Absolutely.
Amen. Yeah, everything's all pretty inside. All right. Very good. All right. So very good. So take that with you. Don't be gaslit. Learn how to watch the news. Learn how to be in conversation with the church and with other people in ways that challenge, but also we would say in the church, edify, right, and encourage, and do that all in one easy step.
Seek the truth.
Yeah. Of course, it's easy, but it's also hard.
It's going to be the hardest thing you ever do.
Yeah. So, all right, Tom, Brad, thank you for that. That is some wise wisdom, wise counsel you have given to us all. And I hope everyone appreciates it. I do. I appreciate your time. I appreciate you letting us see those beautiful Christmas decorations. Tom, they look great. Brad, you're looking nice and studious over there as well. Thank you so much, both of you, for the gift of your time. Thank you for tuning in. We will see you next week. Until then, have a great rest of the week, and God be with you.
Peace, y'all.